Ben Frida Cohen, as well as by Mr. Ivor and Mrs. Robin Braca, the Ayun Nishmat, the dear friends, Mr. Edmond Safra Alav Shalom Ben Esther, and his brother Yosef Safra Ben Esther Alehem Shalom. Idatzon, that to the words of Torah Berachot that the Kahal will be reciting should have the Neshamot should have Aliyah in Gan Eden. Amen. Obviously, the Kahal Kadosh have heard me, some of you in the earlier class or last night. Thank you very, very, very much about the beautiful day that we are experiencing now in the final hours of the last and final day of the celebration of Hanukkah. But before I start talking about that day, I'd like to say publicly, Tiskela Mitzvot to everybody that not only that came, but actually sponsored yesterday magnificent program that we have with Rabbi Eli Mansour Shlita from Brooklyn, that gave a magnificent shiur about the relationship of the eternal message of Hanukkah connected to the essence of Yosef Hasadik. For those who get my daily class, you have it already, and otherwise feel free to look for my name in itorah.com and you'll see the lecture in audio and video from Rabbi Eli's yesterday, and the title of the class, I believe it's called Yosef and Hanukkah, The Secret of Survival. Talking about itorah.com. iTorah is running for the first time, I believe, a special Hanukkah campaign. Please log in or visit the website www.itorah.com and give your generous donation, which is obviously deducted from Ma'aser, but it's a great investment because you're enabling thousands of Yehudim, literally worldwide, to benefit from the thousands upon thousands of Torah classes and lectures that they have already on file. And it doesn't matter which speaker you listen to. Whichever speaker you like and you listen to is great, but try to help them as much as you can. So let's discuss for a few moments the power of today's day. So there are a lot of things to say, and I have maybe 20-30 pages of information that discusses about the power of the 8th day of Hanukkah. But I'll try to give you perhaps the global message, so to speak, that the person understands that the highlight of the miracle of Hanukkah is actually today. The miracle of Hanukkah, the highlight was towards the end, not towards the beginning. Although it was a miracle by itself that they found the oil and they were removing the Greeks and the Assyrians from the land of Israel. But at the end of the day, the miracle is concentrated on Zot Hanukkah HaMizbeach, when Bnei Israel were finally able to inaugurate the Mizbeach in the Bet HaMikdash. That's the reason why today's reading of the Sefer was much longer than all of Hanukkah put together, because we got to go through the remaining Korbanot, we got to go to the reckoning of the inauguration of the Mishkan, and especially from the Nesi'im's department, and the lighting of the Menorah. So I heard Moshe inside that he gave a beautiful pirush of Rabbeinu Ha'ari, which I have it in front of me, about the different areas of our prayers that a person needs to pay attention to them, because many of these prayers are related to the 8 days of Hanukkah. If it's from Vaybarech David, if it's from Yotzer or the Beracha before Amidah, or if it's even in the Amidah, Beyasib Benachon, all this is hinted, connected to the 8 days of Hanukkah. So I'll try to give you a free sample of each and every one of them. So we try to cover as much ground as we can in the next few minutes. Rabotai, there is plenty of seating available. Rabotai, find seats, find chairs. This way you can eat and enjoy. We have a Hatan in the middle of Shiva Berachot. We say Mazel Tov, Mordechai, Mazel Tov. This is your father-in-law. Okay, you hit the jackpot.
Right.
And I'm sure he got also the Powerball. Beautiful. Besiman Tov. Hashem should bless you with great beracha and aslaha. We love your son. We love your son-in-law. We love him. Unfortunately, New York has the upper hand, but maybe we may bring him here. Here it doesn't snow.
Wow.
No snow, by the way. No snow. And for me to say this publicly, you can take it to the bank. Better than FDIC. But nice meeting you, Besiman Tov. And we'll see you, Bezat Hashem, in the Shua Berachot. Okay, let's resume back the Shiur. So, for example, Moshe spoke about Adon Haniflaot, the master of wonders. You know, I read something very beautiful the other day that it says as follows. Many times, listen to this, short and sweet. Many times, a person says to God, God, look how many problems I have. You know what a great rabbi said? Don't tell God how big your problems are. Tell your problems how big God is. Is sinking in your brain? Processing? You do expediting processing, right? Data processing, downloading fast? Thank you. Adon Haniflaot. God is the masters of wonders and miracles. Goes further. In the before Shema, we say, "Betem belibenu bina lehavi lehaskil lishmoa lilmod ulkayem." God give us the opportunity to fulfill mitzvot. Now, what does that mean? The opportunity to fulfill mitzvot. Don't we have constant opportunities to do mitzvot? You just came from tefillah. You did a lot of mitzvot. You came to the breakfast room. How many mitzvot did you already do in the breakfast room? You got something to eat. You say berachot before. You say berachot after. You say several berachot. Depends on what you're eating. You're listening to words of Torah. You're a factory of mitzvot. But here it says as follows. It says, the Yesod B'Shoresh Avodah explains that this word to fulfill mitzvot means that the mitzvot that keeps us spiritually alive. The mitzvot that keeps us spiritually alive, and that they should be engraved in our heart. Sometimes a person gets excited for 2-3 minutes, and then that excitement leaves. So it says we want that excitement of Torah and Avodat Hashem, it should be alive. The Be'erot HaMayim explains that this particular word is fulfilling the mitzvah besimcha, doing the mitzvot with happiness, with joy. Don't look, God forbid, as a mitzvah, as a burden, God forbid. But look at the mitzvot as a connector with a Kadosh Baruch Hu. And it goes even further. The Shulchan HaTahor says that the power of a mitzvah doesn't extinguish after you did the mitzvah. Even though you did the mitzvah, but it's like there is something going on. There is electricity running to the neshama of the person. The Gemara in Nida brings an interesting statement. I think that is the beginning of the book known as the Tanya. And it says as follows, Mashbi'in oto tehi sadik ve'al tehi rasha. The Gemara in Masechet Nida says that before a person is born, you know what the Malachim say to the person? Now you're going to go down to the world. Commit yourself that you're going to become a good person and not the opposite. You know, under the chuppah, what is the tradition? Do you look at the Ketubah? Did you ever read the Ketubah, what it says at the bottom? The Ketubah at the bottom says, Tekiat Kaf and Shevuah. What's the meaning of that? Tekiat Kaf means the shaking of the hand. Okay, for those who are in the diamond business. Okay, how do you buy diamonds? With the shaking of the hand. They say bracha and mazal. Right? Right, Professor? Okay. I know, correct? Mazal. Beautiful. Now, no invoice. Of course, you send the invoice later. But the moment you like the deal, with the shaking of the hand. And then you have Shevuah. Then you make a vow. You are promising under the chuppah, not promising, you swearing. That's more critical. Under the chuppah, Rabotai, I don't buy it. If you want to sit next to me, it's fine. Doesn't cost you anything today. Okay, haram, I feel not happy if people are eating standing. Chavod, behemet, doesn't cost you anymore. Anyways, so it says that a hatan under the chuppah, what does he do? A shevuah, yani he swears to fulfill all his responsibilities as a good husband in Am Israel. So it says that when a person says this prayer, ulkayem, that a person commit themselves to become, be all you can be. That's an army statement, right? But where does that come from? According to today's class, it comes from this word, ulkayem, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives the person the strength to become the best that they can be. In the Amidah, we discussed this in the early days of Hanukkah. We say, Sim Shalom Tova Ubracha, Hayim Hem Ba'Hesed B'Rachamim, etc. At the end of that paragraph, the Pasuk says, Ki be'or panecha natata lanu, Hashem Elokeinu, Torah v'chaim, Ahava v'chesed, Tzedakah v'rachamim, Beracha v'shalom. How many blessings again? 8 blessings. 8 blessings. Look in the Siddur, you have a Siddur, open it. In the Siddur, you'll see 8 different blessings. But what is the first request that we give a Kadosh Baruch Hu? Ki be'or panecha. Be'or panecha means with a shining face. Hashem give us Torah v'chaim, Torah and life, Ahava v'chesed, love and kindness, Tzedakah v'rachamim, charity and compassion, Beracha v'shalom, blessing and peace. So it says, Shekol ha'ashpa'ot, all the blessings. Ashpa'ah is more than a blessing. Ashpa'ah means abundance, shefa. Yani all the blessings of abundance, yomitoch ha'arat panim besimcha. Hashem gives it to the person with a nice face. Imagine yourself that you greet someone and you say to the person, Shalom Aleichem, or Baruch Haba, and the person doesn't answer back to you. How are you going to feel? Not good. But what happens if the person smiles back at you? You feel great. So that's what it means, Ha'arat panim, besimcha. And I'm giving it to you, what Olam says, with joy, behabibut, and love, be'ahava, be'lo ke'inyan kah balech. And a person prays to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, don't give me a blessing in order to get rid of me. Okay, what do you want? What do you need? You need this? Okay, take and leave. Kah balech. That's not the type of blessing that we want. We want a blessing that really comes with love, with affection, with all the goodness. Bechen, one more. Another prayer for today. שהקדוש ברוך הוא יאיר לנו את כל המחשכים, להיות לנו אורה בשמחה תמיד. Darkness. Darkness comes in many shapes and forms. I'm not referring to darkness as night or day. I'm referring to the daytime that for some people it's also dark. Darkness can be also explained as, let's call it, difficult moments or difficult situations that, God forbid, a person may be going through life. And guess what? There is no one word to explain that darkness. There are different levels of darkness. Some darkness could be, God forbid, health problems. Some other could be shalom bayit issues. Another could be nisyonot with education of the children. Another could be, God forbid, unable to have children. We discuss today is a day to pray for that. God forbid, livelihood or someone that is single, etc. So whatever level of darkness that a person may have in life, we pray to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Borei Olam, reverse the darkness into light. Liot lanu ora besimcha tamid. That our life constantly be showered with Hashem's light, obviously, and happiness. The way we say in the Pasuk, Hashem Elokai Yagia Heshchi, David HaMelech says, dear God, please brighten the darkness, which refers to the many nisyonot that David HaMelech had to overcome throughout his life. Two more things concerning, before I switch the book, concerning the Sefirot. We discuss from the early days of Hanukkah, every day we discuss a different manifestation of Hashem, and today corresponds to the ultimate Sefirah, Sefirah known as Malchut. Malchut means kingdom. This Sefirah is connected to the mouth of the person. Every part of the body, from a Kabbalistic perspective, and don't ask me how, but we understand some, we don't understand all. They have a different connection to the human body. For example, I go quickly. Right hand, Abraham Avinu. Left hand, Ishak Avinu. Hesed, Gevura. The torso, Yaakov. Tiferet. Connection of Hesed and Gevura. Moshe Rabbeinu, right leg. Bet HaMikdash number 1. Aharon HaKohen, Bet HaMikdash number 2, the left leg. Yosef HaSadik, the area between the legs. Yesod, Berit Milah, family purity, etc. Number 7 is David HaMelech and the Sefirah known as Malchut, the mouth of the person. Now, why the mouth of the person is considered the kingdom of the person? I'm sure that without even going into the book, we all understand that the mouth can be your biggest ally or your worst enemy. How many times we get in trouble, right? For saying something. You say something at home, you get in trouble with your wife. You said something at the synagogue, you get in trouble with the rabbi. You get something in school, you say something in school, not you, Hazrat Shalom, you're a good kid. Okay? But sometimes students say things in the classroom and it creates problems. Now, what does that mean? That means that a person needs to be the king upon their mouth. Sefer Hasidim says, as long as you stay quiet, you are the king of your silence. Once the word came out, you're the slave of your words. Let it sink again. Don't sink, please. Just think in your mind. How much is written about the way a person talks? Without going into the Shemirat HaLashon or the Gulpeh and many other topics. But why so much? Why it's called Malchut? Malchut is kingdom. There is nothing higher than Malchut. You know, the different ways that the way that a person talks, it influences the person. A person talks in a shon nekiah, a person talks in a clean way, in a proper way, in a respectful way, that brings Yirat Shamayim to the person. But if a person talks like a sewer, God forbid, the way they talk, the way they post in chats, is no less avon. Posting in chats and writing or saying it, zon nevela, zon terefa. Right? You agree? Thank you. Chazak u'baruch. Yes, Rashet Tevot Samach Men. I know, that's what he means to say. But that's too deep. Too deep for some of us. So I know you're a Kohen, so in the major leagues, but okay. But I think that the Kahal understands that Malchut represents how the person controls. Because at the end of the day, if we can't control the way we speak, that means that our life, to a certain extent, may be out of control in an area that could be our biggest ally or our worst enemy. You know, in the yeshiva, we used to have a rabbi who used to tell all the students, think before you speak. Now, we didn't understood back then what does it mean? But as you grow up and you see how many times people get in trouble just because I didn't mean that, but guess what? It left your mouth, now you become the Eved. Till you spoke, you were the master. Now we speak, I gotta deal with the consequences. So it says as follows. Malchut, it also means accepting upon the person all Malchut Shamayim. What does it mean, all Malchut Shamayim? Accepting upon the person the yoke of heaven. But doesn't mean say Shema Israel one time and Hashem wa Elokim 7 times and Baruch Shem Kevod Mechutol Ba'ed 3 times. If you go to Israel, sometimes they say, Achshav, now we're going to honor with Kabbalat or Malchut Shamayim Hazan XYZ. That's for the cantorial department. But in practicality, Kabbalat or Malchut Shamayim, you know what it means? That a person takes upon themselves to live like a Jew, to act like a Yehudi, to speak like a Yehudi, to think like a Yehudi, and to behave like a Yehudi. I'm not going to discuss dressing at this moment, or haircuts. Let me see your haircut. Nice. Nice. Baruch Hashem. Baruch Hashem. But sometimes, some haircuts, are problematic without going into halachic details. God forbid. God forbid. But today is not about haircuts. Relax, boys. Okay? If they don't come tomorrow, don't take it personal. Tomorrow they have school. Today they have Hanukkah break. So they decided to come to pray with a minyan and to learn Torah and to have a nice breakfast. That says a lot about each and every one of them. Some of the students could be just sleeping late and not coming to shul and not learning. But Baruch Hashem, these are good boys from good families. All of them that are here, that Baruch Hashem, they take the Torah in a true way. And that's in a way what this Sephirah means, that bring God with you. Wherever you go, Hashem is with you. And it's not only just the lyrics of a nice Jewish song. Wherever you go, Hashem is with you. That's a song, by the way. Check it out. Okay, I don't know, Apple, Spotify, check it out. I'm not sure who sings it, but it's ringing in my brain as we speak. That's why I said exactly the way the lyrics of the song goes. Okay, obviously, songs, kosher. Jewish songs. No, God forbid, rap and the things that people sometimes feel a certain inclination. God forbid. What? And these are small examples that it shows a person's connecting with a Kadosh Baruch Hu. Like you make your house godly by mezuzah, kashrut, modesty. You make your suit kosher by sha'atnes, testing. The food that you eat is kosher. So every area of life, there is a level of godliness. And actually, it's a pasuk. The pasuk says, "Be'atem tiyuli mamlechet kohanim begoy kadosh." One of our mission, I don't know what happened with the sound, suddenly increased, but it says one of our mission is to be a nation of kohanim. I ask you a question. I'm not a kohen. You're not a kohen. You're a kohen? You're a kohen? Okay, so what are you telling me? Suddenly, who are all going to be a kohanim? So we need to understand, what does it mean to be a kohen? To be a kohen means that a person has a certain closeness with a Kadosh Baruch Hu. That's why the kohanim constantly, they need to have a higher level of holiness than someone that is not a kohen. Why? Or how? For example, marriage. Who the kohen is allowed or not allowed to marry. For example, another case, kohanim wash their hands before birkat kohanim. That's why synagogues have the sink inside. Kohanim to eat terumah and whatever korbanot they were allowed to eat in the time of the Bet HaMikdash, they needed to be tahor. Guess what? You know what the Torah says? Every Jew is a Kohen. Has the potential, I should say, to become a Kohen. Obviously, you're not going to go up to the Duchan to bless the Kahal. You're not going to eat terumah and korbanot. But you don't need to be a Kohen to develop a good relationship with Hashem. Begoy Kadosh, and a holy nation. What does it mean? Not only holy food, kosher food, but sanctity, marriage, personal holiness, etc. But not only that, Bnei Melachim anachnu. Who are our fathers? We are the princes of the world. Bnei Melachim. Our forefathers were the kings of Am Yisrael. Be'akadosh Baruch Hu yashpi'a lanu kol tuv. And it says, a person must make a vessel to receive Hashem's blessings. What does that mean? It seems to insinuate here that the stronger the connection is with Hashem, it's like Wi-Fi. Okay? How many times you try to do something and you see that there is low bar in the Wi-Fi? So what does it mean? The connection is weak. But what happens when you have 4 or 5 bars in the Wi-Fi? The connection is strong. Hamavdil ben Kodesh lehol. That's what he's trying to say. I added the Wi-Fi mashal. He doesn't bring it. I added the Wi-Fi. But I say this because I believe that people can connect. So you want to be connected. You need the password. To access the Wi-Fi, you need the password. Once you have the password, then you're able to have a good, strong connection. That's the meaning of the Sefirah of Malchut. Now, with that being said, I'm going to switch the book and I'm going to discuss a couple of specific things applicable for the day of today. I'll do the following. I'm going to give you titles of things related to today's day. And then, time allowing, I'll try to explain a bit. So first, Ta'amei HaMinhagim quotes a pasuk that says in the book of Yeshaya HaNavi, Bezot Yechupar Avon Yaakov. Bezot refers to Zot Hanukah. The sins of Yaakov will be forgiven. That means that today the person can pray for forgiveness. Beautiful. Parnasa. Who doesn't need Parnasa? We all need. If you're human, you need Parnasa. It says today is the day, Zot Hanukkah Mesugal Leamshich Parnasa. The pipes of heaven are open to distribute blessings. As we say in the Bible of David, Ve'ha'osher Ve'akavod milefanecha Ve'ata Moshe Bakol. Beautiful. Next. Pekudat Akrut. I'm only giving you the titles. Every title has an explanation. Pekudat Akrut. Those that are barren to be able to conceive. Sometimes it could be the husband, sometimes could be the wife, God forbid, that for some unknown reason, God forbid, they're not able to conceive. So it says the Kedushat Zion quotes the Bnei Issachar, and it says, time allowing, I will explain the reason how it connects, but it says, on this day, pray for those that are married and unable to conceive and bring children to the world. Yes. Further, it says in the Sha'ar Issachar, Gemar Ahatima. To most of us, when was the Hatima, the seal of our year? Ne'ilah. Then you got an upgrade on Hoshana Rabbah, Shemini Aseret. Guess what? There is an extension. Like you can file extension for taxes. Hamavdil. There is an extension to upgrade our file. It says, Beyom Zot Hanukkah Gemara Hatima. And it says, Tehilat Hatima Beyom Kippur, Sofa Hatima Bezot Hanukkah. And where does he learn it from? From the Pasuk of Yom Kippur. The Pasuk writes, I believe it's Yom Kippur, Selach na le'avon hazeh kegodel hasdecha v'kaasher nasata. Mehila, the avon of the Egel. ממצרים ויבאנה ויאמר השם סלחתי כדבריך. I forgave. So it says on ראשי תיבות and it says הזה כגודל חסדך וכאשר נסעת ראשי תיבות חנוכה. Unbelievable. 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 Okay. I'm going to go back because I saw something very, very interesting. It says also, the Magen Abraham says that in a day like today, a person not only should pray, but to give tzedakah. Because tzedakah, I'm praying, David HaMelech writes in the book of the Tehillim, Rabino Arizal explains, Ba'ani besedek beheze panecha. Many people have a custom to give tzedakah before they do a mitzvah or before tefillah. Why? It's a pasuk. Va'ani, and I, besedek, with charity, says Rabbeinu Ari, eheze panecha. I will see your face. What does it mean? I'm going to ask something from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I need to remove all the traffic from my prayers. So what do? I give tzedakah. Why? Because tzedakah paves the way, says Rabbeinu Ha'ari. That's why many people, before tefillah, they give charity. They give charity. So it says here, the Magen Abraham, learn some extra Torah of the day, pray for whatever you need, and also give extra tzedakah on the day of Zod Hanukkah. The Sefat Emet says that the light and the holiness of the last day of Hanukkah, I read you the language, Mash'ir yoter ha'ara al kol hashana. It says that the light of Hanukkah lingers throughout the entire year. And if you think for a moment, yesterday Rabbi Eli gave a magnificent shiur, and I'm not going again through it because I already sent it to the kahal that is registered, and it's on itorah.com. Look for, I'm not sure if it's under, I think it's under my name because I'm the hosting entity, but look under my name or his name and you'll see Rabbi Eli Mansur guest at the Safra Synagogue. The title of the shiur is Yosef and Hanukkah, the secret of our survival. Rabotai, every day we go through challenges. And it's okay. This is part of our life. But what's our ultimate goal? Not to experience the challenge only. Our goal is to overcome the challenge. And how do we do that? Short answer, Hanukkah. That's it. What was Hanukkah? Waging a spiritual war against the ideals and mindsets that were not conducive to a connection with the Kadosh Baruch Hu, but actually reversing our connection. And that's why in Hanukkah, there is no obligation to do Seudah Mitzvah in Hanukkah. In Purim, part of the protocol of Purim, you must have a Seudah. In Hanukkah, you're not obligated to have, you want to do a Seudah Mitzvah, like what Hanukkah, say words of Torah, sing and dance, Chazak u'Baruch. But it doesn't carry the obligation like in Purim, that you must do a Seudah, a Mishteh in honor of Purim. Why in Purim yes, and in Hanukkah no? Because in Purim is the celebration of the physical survival. And our transgression was through the Seudah, that people participated in the feast of Ahashverosh, in the beginning of the Megillah. And the salvation of the Jewish people came through the Mishteh, the feast that Esther made. So in Purim, food was an important factor of the miracle or the threat and the miracle. But Hanukkah, what was the war against the Jewish people from the Greeks' perspective? Let them divorce themselves from God. Don't observe Shabbat, no milah to your children, no celebrate Rosh Chodesh, don't study Torah, they say milah, nidah, Torah, Chodesh, Shabbat. 5. Maybe there was 1 or 2 more. 5. But these are not featherweight mitzvot. If a person doesn't do milah to the sun, strike. If we don't observe Shabbat, assimilation. If we don't, the lady goes and go to the mikveh, tarat mishpacha issues. You don't celebrate Rosh Chodesh, how are you going to know when the holidays are? And if you don't learn Torah, you're missing oxygen. So the Greeks knew this. So therefore, the war against the Greeks was a war of the spirit, was the war of the mind, not the war of the bodies. And the rabbi said it yesterday, and listen to the class, assimilation was unbelievable crazy. The overwhelming majority of the Jewish people, God forbid, were somehow in the way to assimilation. Today is no different. God forbid. Out of 10 couples, 7.5 married out of faith.
75%.
72.5%. First culprit of that, universities and colleges. Second, fake conversions. Third, no Jewish schools the kids were sent to. They were sent to Jewish schools without godliness. The name is Jewish, but there is no Yirat Shamayim. That's simple. Those 3 scenarios are formula for disaster. There is no insurance policy. That's why you must pay the premium every month. You don't just pay 10 years and if you don't, you got to invest. And the rabbi gave, I'm not going to go over, but the rabbi gave yesterday magnificent insights. And who is the master teacher of survival? Yosef Sadiq. Because Yosef Sadiq went through the entire system. He went through the system of being by himself, being a teenager, facing temptations, and whatever we know about the life of Yosef. Okay, I'd like to expand 5 more minutes if you don't mind. Okay, Hashem, God is helping me because it's raining. Okay? You can send more rain. You can. Okay? Anyways, let me say a beracha first. I'm talking too much since early morning. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam she'akol nihya b'dbaro. I'd like to finish the class with the following. This comes from Ketubah the Rabbi Eliezer, and it says the following. There are certain key moments in the year or in the week that there is a bonus round called Et Rasson. Et Rasson means easy approval. You know, sometimes you apply for a credit card or for a mortgage, they give you easy approval. The higher your credit score, you are pre-approved sometimes, right? So there are certain days, it says the Ketubah Rabbi Eliezer, that there is a goodwill from Shamayim, auspicious time, thank you, to grant the wishes of the person. Nice. What are these 3 times? This is quoted in the name of the son, I believe, of Rabbeinu Elimelech. Remember Rabbeinu Elimelech? Right? His son. So it says as follows. Number 1 on the list, you'll be surprised. Se'udah melave malka. Says when a person after Shabbat sits for a few minutes and eats seudah. Halachically, ideally will be bread. Round 2, mezonot. Round 3, fruits. But you should always have something to eat on Mosai Shabbat. We know that it's not easy, especially when we had Seudah Shelishit. But you can do Melave Malka a few hours after Shabbat. You have to eat Seudah Melave Malka when you come from the synagogue. Now we're coming home by 6:30, we are home. You don't have to eat 6:35, you can eat 7:30, 8 o'clock. And this Seudah, it's called Melave Malka. We are basically escorting the Shekhinah, Shabbat, that came to pay us a visit. Like we welcome the Shabbat with wine and a Seudah, we say Havdalah with wine, but we also make a Seudah. Okay, finish Havdalah. Okay, Shabbat, I'll see you next week. That meaning that you're getting rid of it. Say, no, please, don't. Where are you going? We're going to have Melave Malka now. Right? That's why the Gemara writes that is a segula for healing. Healing of the body and the mind. To drink something hot on Mosai Shabbat. Right? Hamim be Mosai Shabbat melugma. Rashi says, segula lirfu'ah. Something hot. God, thank you for sending the heavy rain that we cannot leave the building. Since you're already in a good mood, why don't you send Mashiach already? Amen. We're already saying Zot Hanukkah Mizbeah. We're saying God is granting all the wishes. Today is a goodwill. It's a goodwill day. So guys at Hashem, be ready. You have luggage? You have luggage? Yes. Hashem. Okay. Carry on, not allowed. They gotta pay now the extra fee now.
No vax card either.
Yeah, no, you don't need vaccine card to travel when Mashiach comes. Amen. Now, so what happens, the Gemara writes, drinking something hot or taking a bath on Mosai Shabbat brings healing to the body, and the Pasuk says in the book of Tehillim, Umhabesh le'atzebotam. What's the meaning atzebotam in Hebrew? What's the root word of atzebot? Sadness. Umhabesh Rashi Tevot Hamin b'Mosai Shabbat melugma. Open here, ready, I have it. Let me find it. You say this every day of your life. Every day you say this, Rabotai. So many beautiful things hinted in our daily prayers. The Pasuk says, Harofel Ishbur Elev, the healer of the heartbroken, Umhabesh le'atzebotam. Atzebotam means atzvut, sadness, depression. Mehabesh, mem het bet shin, hamin b'motza'e Shabbat. Chapter of Tehillim 147, Gemara Shabbat as well. So Mosai Shabbat, good spirit. The next one, and I'm not going to expand on Mosai Shabbat Seudah, we discussed it a while back. We'll wait around 2 when some of the time we come across this topic in the Halakha. Number 2, Shemini Aseret. The day after Hoshana Rabbah. What happens in Hoshana Rabbah? We stay up all night. We do 7 hakafot, 7 junior serihot. We do the arava. We say the nishmat at the end of the prayers. We do a lot of things. Why do we do so much in Hoshana Rabbah? Because that is the upgraded file from Yom Kippur Ne'ilah. So God gives us another chance, so to speak, to upgrade ourselves and to get a better review, to get a better report card. That's unbelievable. But on the day of Shemini Aseret, the Zohar Kadosh writes, in the Ashkenazic tradition, you know what is the salutation in Hoshana Rabbah? Anybody knows? A good kvittel. Have you ever heard of this? No? Okay? A good kvittel. What does it mean, kvittel? Kvittel is the piece of paper that usually you go to a Hasidic Rebbe and you write a piece of paper, your name and your request, and you go to the Rebbe, whichever Rebbe could be, Satmer, Puede, Vishnitz, Kasho, Belz, Kloisenburg, Boyan, Karlin, whatever you have, whatever, and you give the kvittel. Kvittel means a piece of paper. That's why they wish each other a good vittel, which means may your file be a good file. This is originated from the Zohar Kadosh that says the day of Shemini Aseret, in the morning, Yom Mesirat HaPetakim, is the days of the kvittel, the delivery of the file. Petek means what in Hebrew? Piece of paper, a note. Kvittel means a note. It's the same thing like Good Shabbos and Shabbat Shalom. A good Devora, Shavua Tov, is a good kvittel, Mesirat HaPetakim. Now, what does this mean? The Zohar Kadosh explains that even though the judgment has been pre-established in the morning of Hoshana Rabbah, nevertheless, Hashem gives another 24 hours before the file, the mission of the Malach to carry out with the person. The Malachim don't know what's written until the morning of Shemini Aseret. They receive a yellow manila envelope. Okay, this is your mission. This is going to be with this person. And they escort the person through the year. That is Mesirat HaPetakim. But the Hidush is that even though this took place on Shemini Aseret, we have another opportunity to upgrade that file. And that is today.
Change the decree.
To change the decree. And that's why one of the titles says, Yom Gemara Hatima. I will finish the class to repeat something that I heard from Rabbi Eli many years back. But give me 2 minutes, I'll finish with this. The third day, so we said Melave Malka, Shemini Aseret, and Zot Hanukkah, today. And the reason is, Ki kasher higia eta pereda. When the Shekhinah says, thank you for the hospitality, thank you for taking care of me. Shabbat, when you say Shabbat, you welcome the Shabbat, Boi Kala, Shabbat Malketa. But then Mosai Shabbat comes, what happens to Shabbat? Shabbat leaves. Okay? So it says, Be'eta Pereda, when the Shekhinah leaves, if it's on Melave Malka, or Shemini Aseret. If you look in the Torah, Bayom HaShemini Aseret Yeh Lachem, Aseret Yeh Lachem. Rashi explains, Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Kasha Alai Peridatchem. God says, it's difficult for me, your departure. What does it mean? We spent together a whole week of Sukkot, including Chol HaMoed. What did the Jewish people do during the week of Chol HaMoed? Besides coming to Florida and learning Torah, in the time of the Bet HaMikdash, they offer korbanot for the 70 nations of the world. So God says, you took care of them. Where are you going? Send everybody back home, and then you stay with me one more day. The day of Shemini Aseret, the Pasuk says, Be'Yaakov halach ledarko. That is the salutation. Be'Yaakov halach ledarko means the Jewish people, after Shemini Aseret, they go back. The Shekhinah goes up to Shamayim, and the third one, Zot Hanukkah, שזה מסוגל העד להתפלל ולבקש על נפשנו. לכן, בזאת חנוכה, שהוא יום האחרון של חנוכה, זמן המסוגל להיוושע בכל מילי דבטיו. Like on מוסאי שבת, there is a shower of blessings. That's what we say, ויתן לך. Like in שמיני עצרת, we start saying, משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם. That's also ברכה. Also in זאת חנוכה, as Hashem, the Shekhinah, takes a step back from the highlight of these 8 days, take advantage to pray. So Kadosh Baruch Hu, before leaving, Hashem is in a good mood, blesses the person with great amount of berachot in any area. If it's to find a shidduch, if it's to have shalom bayit, if it's to have children, to have health, to have happiness, to have a parnasah, to have nachat from the children, whatever need you have, pray for it. I remember 1 year, the rabbi mentioned about the hints of the pesukim of the Torah. And if you open a Chumash, many Chumashim, not all, but many Chumashim, they tell you how many verses are on each parasha. I know for a fact, this week's Torah portion that finished, Mikes, 146 pesukim. It was a long one. Okay? We have pesukim from 30. We have parasha that has 30. Parasha Vayelech, 30. Parashat Nisavim, 40. Parasha Haazinu, 52. Parasha Kitavo, 122. In other words, each pesukim, each parasha has a amount of verses. And also, if you look in the Humashim that has this concept at the end, it gives you a code. It gives you a code. What is the code that the Torah is telling me about this particular parasha? I'm not too knowledgeable on this topic. If I want to know something, I open the parasha on the Humash and I read it. But I'm going to tell you what Rabbi Eli said a few years back. I just mentioned 4 parashiot. I think he quoted a very deep book called Megale Amukot. I have it.